Let's do this. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is MillennialNP. Happy New Year. It has been the year of the nurse this past 2020. I'll be honest, it sucked. It really sucked. It's been rough out there. I know that you guys are going through a lot, I bet. So I figured that I would start off this new year by helping some of my fellow travelers. Woo! This 2021 is the year of the traveler. I'm gonna coin it that because let's face it, every single nurse I know is out traveling unless, you know, they can't. But everybody I know just suddenly became a travel nurse. Whoa. I've been putting videos about travel nursing since like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. So now they're suddenly like becoming very popular. So thank you everybody. I'd like to see that subscriber count though go up, but I appreciate everybody who has been following me. And I swear, every time I want to start a list off, I get new people and I'm like, whoa, how many more? Like at first it was like 200. Now I'm at like 351. So, whoa. So thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. So otherwise, I'm going to cover 5 things that I really think travel nurses should be focusing on when they're signing contracts. I'm also going to include a few warnings because I've been seeing quite a few contracts out there that are a little sketch, or some of our recruiters are getting a little greedy. Sorry guys, I'm gonna be honest. I've been in the business for a while, so I'm gonna call you out on it. Otherwise, I do love the recruiters who have gotten very dynamic out there. Like they've started reaching out and saying, hey, are you interested in a contract? Here's what I've got. Here are my numbers, this and that. I think that's fantastic. Thank you. Since the competition is fierce right now, the biggest companies I'm seeing out there that are doing traveling, that are managing a lot of these crisis contracts are Krucial Staffing, Snap Nurse, Angel Staffing. I believe I saw Prolink, Caliburn, a couple others. So that's been really, really awesome to see. I really hope that nurses continue to get paid those rates moving forward, because as you know, most of the nurses out there would like to be getting paid that. I don't know if anybody noticed that, or I have been hearing reports that people in certain states are dropping their jobs so that they can pick up these contracts. I don't blame you. The competition is fierce out there and people are broke. So guys, is traveling for everybody? Absolutely not. Traveling is for people who are ready to take on big commitments, changes. You've got to be able to be flexible. You have to be able to move fast. Traveling is not for the faint of heart, and traveling is full of pain. I'm going to be honest, pain of, you know, moving, pain of being in certain locations, pain of dealing with certain people. You're going to be dealing with so many different things. So I really want to make sure that you understand that traveling is a wonderful profession as a nurse. It has really opened up avenues for many nurses who have been limited, who can't really, you know, make that living that they thought they were going to have, and are now doing it. So traveling is lucrative. Will these numbers be seen again? I don't know. So a lot of people are just deciding, hey, now's the time, let's do it, jump in. Why am I not traveling right now? Well, you guys, I did COVID in, you know, the first run. You know, I felt that was really important. So I went to New York. Unfortunately, COVID is not, you know, it's not discriminatory. It goes for everyone. So it got me. I mean, I suffered some serious dehydration, so I was out of commission for quite a few months. I had to really just drop back into my nurse practitioner role and take it easy, and I had to take care of myself. If you guys hear something in the background, that is my precious Cody rolling. Yeah, he's rolling on the rug right now, just happy as a clam. We came back from a little walk. Oh my gosh, so spoiled. So anywho, back to the point. So otherwise, yeah, it's been rough. So I'm not traveling right now, but I do want to make sure that I'm including some really important tips for you guys so that you guys can take advantage of these contracts for me. All right. So number one, when you go and take a look at your contract, look at those numbers very carefully, always. There is a video I have on my website, or excuse me, on my channel that can cover some of the basics in there. I'm gonna see if I can talk to my husband and see if I can get the tool that I designed for it so that you guys can start using it again. I know it's been really hard on me. I've been trying to like juggle so much right now. So I'm gonna try to get that tool up for you guys. It's free. I had it up. I would charge people like 20 bucks for it at some point. And I've had a couple people tell me it was so awesome. Other people wanted to do some customizations. So my husband and I just kind of got to that situation where we're like, we'll just give it to people for free. So let me find out where it is and I'll get it up for you guys, okay? Please be patient. All right, so question number 1. Contracting and hours worked versus hours guaranteed. Okay, when you look at a contract, it says probably 40 hours and then overtime is this certain rate after that 40-hour mark or whatever. Or if you're doing 36-hour shifts like our ERs and ICU nurses, those are three-day shifts. And once you hit that 36-hour mark, you're already running into that gray zone of if you're going to be overtime or not. So you guys should be very cautious when you're looking at a contract and find out how your units work. Now, this won't happen to every nurse, depending on what unit they belong to. But for example, I worked in units like in PACUs and pre-ops where sometimes I'd run out of patients. It's a day surgery. So at the end of the day, no more patients, you don't need a nurse anymore. So they send you home. That means that some of your hours aren't there. So find out what your hours are going to look like if they're consistent. So if you're an ER or ICU nurse, you guys are on shifts, it's not going to change. But if you're not, make sure that you're finding out what happens if those hours aren't guaranteed. Because if they send you home, you're not making money, remember? You've got to be there. You've got to find another job, or you'll tell them, hey, I'll stay an extra hour, or do you want me to do cleanup? Which is what I would do a lot. I would have really long days in a PACU just so that I could make up my time, because I want those stipends, y'all. That's how we make our money, all right? So that's question number 1. Hopefully that'll get you to start thinking about those hours, okay? Make sure you have an alternative, or tell them, hey, I need to make sure I make my hours. I used to do that. I'd tell my staff, or I'd tell the people who were managing me, hey, I need to make my hours, or you're gonna get screwed and I'm gonna get screwed, and that doesn't make us happy. So, focus on where the money comes from. That's really what they wanna know. All right, next. Floating. To float or not to float? Floating. I would say that if you are a seasoned nurse, particularly with a background in med-surg, tele, ICU, any of these other specialties, but that as long as you've had at least 1 to 2 years of some kind of experience, floating is okay. They'll limit you to certain areas. Like if you don't have ER training, they're probably not going to send you down there. Or if you don't have any ICU training, they're not going to send you there either. So know that you're going to be doing probably menial tasks, preferably. But ideally, if you're floating, you shouldn't be taking on full loads. But with COVID right now, it's really unpredictable. So you might have to be taking on some of these loads. So I suggest that if you are comfortable floating, you find out whether or not that's beneficial for you in this case, but it's a great way to make up those hours. Remember how I said, hey, if they don't need you on that unit, they might shift you to another unit. Floating is a way to take up those hours. So you might want to have a floating clause in your contract, okay? Find out where you're going to get floated to. I mean, if they throw you into some area that's like awful, just limit where you float to. How's that? You can do that. You can limit just about anything, as long as it's under the policies of the hospital, and or whatever the policies that your company is ensuring that you do. As long as safety is at the very top, pretty much you can negotiate just about anything, because you're not going to do anything that's outside of your scope of practice. Got it? All right, next question. All right, find out if your unit extends, or find out if this contract where you are at extends. It might not necessarily be the same unit. You might be able to extend or get another contract in another unit, but you might still be in the same hospital. So find out if they extend. Some people, or some nurses that I know, like to stay in certain areas for certain times of the year. So they'll continue to extend a contract. Extending a contract may mean that you might take a pay cut though, because let's say that you decide you want to be, I don't know, here in Seattle in the summertime, which is probably the best time of the year. A lot of nurses want to be here for that. Or if you want to be down south in South Florida, a lot of nurses want to be down there when it's wintertime. So contract rates will be lower in the nicer areas, higher in those colder areas. Who wants to be out slepping in the snow? So let me move on to the next one. How do you schedule? That's a good question. I would ask them how they schedule you. Is it a manager scheduling you? Is it the department scheduling you? Is it, and I mean that very loosely, like, you know, sometimes they have self-scheduling, or you turn in your days for the month, or, you know, you put in requests or whatever, you know. So find out how they do your scheduling, because they love the hospitals or whatever, they love to move travelers around, because you guys are more expensive, and therefore they want to give you the jobs that the staff nurse doesn't want to do. So get ready for understanding where you're going to be scheduled, or how many days straight you're going to be scheduled. Like, for example, they would always make me work on Fridays. Unfortunately, as a traveler, that's reality. You're probably going to get stuck with those days. They can do that. Their staff has priority. And it's granted, it's not like it's written anywhere. It's just kind of common knowledge. You're a traveler, you're temp, you're not always going to be here. So please know that, and try not to take it to heart. A lot of, I've met quite a few nurses and traveling nurses who, they really take that to heart. They really get bristly about it. This is cutthroat, and it's gotten far more cutthroat as 2020 went by. So please understand, if you're a staff nurse, travelers are aggressive. Travelers have to be strong, and travelers get shoved some of the worst assignments. So you need to understand where they're coming from too. Nothing bugs me more when I get some staff nurse that says, oh, well, you should be taking that because you get paid more than I do. And I'm like, all right, no, let's drop this. I get paid more than you because A, I made the decision to leave my comfortable job. Number two, I make more money than you do because I don't pay into the same insurance policies as you do, and I don't get a 401k, and I don't get all the bennies that come with it, like a ski pass to Alta or something. All right? Focus on those things. We're withholding our benefits so that we take home more of that cash, so that we take home more of those stipends, so that we can go and pick and choose where we want to be. Okay? So please look at both sides. Don't be mean to staff nurses. You know, sometimes they're probably stuck in a situation where they just can't travel, or they're just committed to where they are and that's where they want to be. But you also want to look at your travelers and not throw or sling mud at them either. They had to make a really tough decision too. I had to make a really tough decision. I knew where I was working in South Florida, unfortunately, was not going to pay the bills for me. I have a different lifestyle. I like to travel a lot, and it just wasn't working. I needed to have more income so I could take more time off. So that's where I want to be. And I'd say you have to respect where people want to go with their lives, and these are decisions that they have to make, and they're very personal. So understand everybody's side. All right, next one. Who is your go-to person besides your company? Okay, so your go-to person besides your company. All right, no matter what, no matter where you go, you will always answer to the company who you signed on to, okay? That's who you answer to. You will always have to have a certain level of diplomacy with who you have contracted with. So that could be the hospital or the clinic, or I don't know, somebody who said, hey, we need a traveler, this is where they need to be, this is what we want, okay? So think about it this way. If there is a problem going on, you need to do your due diligence to solve the problem within reason as best as you can. But I always, always, always recommend that you bring your recruiter on board and have the recruiter know what's going on from the get-go. Because it's not uncommon for the hospital to start calling your company to say something. And it can get into a lot of hoo-ha. So here's an example. This actually happened to me. I had an issue with administration at a hospital I was working at. The reason why it had to do with safety and our routes of medical medicine and administration, okay? So I felt that there was an issue or a breach, and therefore I brought it up and said I was not comfortable continuing this type of care if the expectation was to move forward with this type of breach. Well, and mind you, I use that type of language when I'm talking to whoever it is I was talking to. I'm very formal because it should be taken seriously. You're not a nobody nurse when you're a traveler, okay? Please understand that. You are considered a seasoned, knowledgeable nurse. You should know more than most when you're on units, okay? That's why I ask people that if you're gonna start traveling, at least have a year or two under your belt. You need to be able to hold your own. And a year isn't enough to hold your own when you're faced with some of these types of challenges. Granted, I'm seeing a lot of stuff right now. I know that we need nurses out there, but I'm just saying, for the sake of the scope of practice and the safety of you maintaining your license, you need to know your excuse me. Okay? So, next thing is you must be able to diplomatically argue the situation without becoming a pain in the butt. Also understanding that you need to be able to reconcile. So be careful what you say, be careful how you say it. Okay, so guess who was in the right? Me. I was in the right. It became a big deal. We had to call the pharmacy. The pharmacy had to back me up. Okay, so please understand, know your role, know your routes, know what your job is. And if you see something wrong, you need to start saying something about it. I know that rules get broken all the time, but you don't want to be the one nurse that gets thrown under the bus for it and loses their license for it. Okay, so please document, make sure you know where your stuff is, make sure that you know your scope of practice. Okay, so otherwise, those were my 5 questions for travelers. I guess they're kind of like important things to point out before you start going on a contract. I think I'm gonna look for a few more for you guys, or if you guys have some that you want me to answer, please put them in the comments below of this video and I will do my best to answer them. Please hit me up on the comments or ask me a question, and it was so good to see you again, and hopefully I'll be putting out a few more of these videos. So thanks for chatting and thanks for hanging out with me. MillennialNP, out.